celebrate, I'm drinking a Code Red Mountain Dew today.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Red Wings Rant, where tirades and tirades and passion please for you. Red Wings finally have a home.
See, I mime the whole thing in the event that you pass mid-delivery, so I'm right there to pick it up.
Woo! I just realized I forgot to have us go live on Twitter too, but that's okay. We're fine. We're on YouTube. That's where we get all the love. And Mike, Stevie, why showing you some love 2-year contract for Mr. Vladimir Tarasenko, $4.75 million. That's
Two
your
times.
AAV, Michael.
2 times.
How are you feeling, Mike? These when I say these guys, of course, I'm referring to the fact that Patrick Kane re-upped for his around $4 million and then $2.5 million in bonuses. Mike, these are the two guys you absolutely needed on this team.
Hell yeah.
Couple years ago, before it was even an option to pick up Kane last year. Mike, it was 2 trade deadlines ago. You were like, this is the move. You need Tarasenko. You need Kane in the winged wheel. And we're on our way to winning the Stanley Cup.
Was like, Mike, we made a signing. And I was like, wait, a real signing? Or you mean we got like another Tyler Mott? And they're like, no, like a real one. I'm like, all right, let me fire up the Twitter. Let me see what happened. Oh! And I was running around high-fiving people. I'm pretty excited. I know he's older. I know he's not quite in his glory days. And look, he's at a 69% WAR. Justin Shields, nice. What more could you want? What up?
What up, Justin?
Bunch of liars. It's not even 9 yet.
That was based off of some internal communications here at the pod. But Jared's mad. 9:05 start time. That is what I said. I gave myself that little extra buffer time in case the kids weren't asleep. But here we are. But yeah, Mike, I mean, Tarasenko, a Detroit Red Wing. I will say, I will be, Mike, this is, so I wanted to set this up. Mike, you are celebrating. This is a big day for you.
This is, Matt, I gotta tell you, Matt, we are a Trevor Zegras trade from having a hat trick of getting players that Matt hates. Woo-hoo-hoo! Stevie Y reached out and got Kane for me. This year he gets Tarasenko. Next is Zegras. Oh, Matt will burn all his Red Wing paraphernalia live on the show if I show up in a Zegras #1 jersey. Woo-hoo-hoo!
I don't know where that's coming from. First of all, I don't know. Hate is not at all
I think it was
close to describing.
It was when I was selling him as Rookie of the Year over Mo Seider and Lucas Raymond. I think that was when.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. That was silly. Now you could see how silly it was, right? Because now Trevor just dropped off a cliff.
Silly now until we acquire Zegras. bring him home.
But I was going to say, I mean, I wasn't going to go as far to say hate, but when I did see Tarasenko pop up on my phone,
yeah,
I got to say, I saw the name first, and my first thought, and I promise everybody don't turn this off, my first thought was, oh, I hope it wasn't the Wings. And it was. It was the Wingdings. Mike, we held off, let me set this up. We held off on recording an episode yesterday because I said, well, if Steve postponed his press conference, there's got to be another huge move coming, right? Like you made that trade to get the extra cap space.
He doesn't want to hit a hot mic and have to explain why he's done nothing in the offseason. No.
Right. So like we kind of thought like there was something huge a brewing. And I will say this, even still, we're going to talk about how I am happy with how the step chart's going to shake out, but I'm still going to say this is still not like a huge move that I was waiting to come. Like this wasn't, and I will also say, Mike, a Trouba trade is also not that. Trouba's the Rangers, like, we need to make cap space so this team can work, and we have an odd man out. That's not something I'm chomping at the bit for. You guys never said that phrase correctly. Oh wait, actually, is it chomping at the? No, it is at the bit. It's your horse.
It's champing at the bit.
Thanks, champing at the bit. Damn it, that's what I fucked it up. I want to sign off right now. I fucked it up. That's like I was so excited to talk about it, and then I said it wrong.
Here, Matt. We are inside of 6 minutes.
I fucked it up. I can't believe
that. Speaking of effing up, Blake saying bye-bye, Mr. Fabbs. Good luck in the old duck pond.
That's where I wanted to take the conversation. Because I will still say
segue. Matt was reaching for that. We appreciate it.
I will still say I don't think I've been teased a move outside of the ones that we've just fantasized about, and I think we'll do some more fantasy booking later in the episode. Outside of the ones that we fantasy booked for the Wingdings, I feel like we solved a hole. We may, we solved a problem that kind of we didn't realize was going to be a problem now. And I think we made an upgrade over what the old option was. But I still kind of felt like, all right, this isn't the move. This isn't the move that was like, all right, he's a second round pick. Get Jake Walman out of here. Just get him off my roster so that I can pick up a fading Vladimir Tarasenko.
Man.
Right?
He's not going to be fading for much longer when he's getting those red hot passes from Patrick Kane. Woo-hoo-hoo! But Matt, Corey Manning was right here with us saying, is this why Steve hasn't done a press conference yet? Basically, this acquisition. And again, I don't know if I kind of agree with Matt. There's so many plates being juggled right now. I feel like there's still room for one more move up the sleeve. I just don't want to get to that point, Matt, where we're overbooking like the Royal Rumble. What if The Rock comes back and Stone Cold comes back and Owen Hart comes back from the dead? Like I saw Datsuk on the practice, rink. Maybe he's gonna lace him up, be on the fourth line. We'll do it. We'll give him like an Ovechkin. Let's give him an Ovechkin shift. He only plays power plays. You're telling me Datsuk couldn't still score on the power play?
Yeah, I mean, that's why we're always like disappointed, because I feel like we're always coming up with better ideas than Steve. And then all of a sudden free agency's over, the trade deadline's over, and we're just looking around. And honestly, there were a couple of holes I didn't anticipate. We've refilled those holes and we've upgraded. I would say if we're going to talk about getting Perron, like I've always said, like a winning team doesn't have David Perron in their top 6. Well, now he's not even on our team, but even if he was, Vladdy is an upgrade in that world for me. So I think this team now in the top 6 very clearly is better than it was last year. And you and I have said over and over and over and over that the focus needs to be on forwards in the top 6. I just think we still have one. We got one more spot. I've got
comments in there. I just want to say hi to Chewy. He's listening as he falls asleep. Chewy. I'm glad we can be that Quaalude that softly sweeps you away to Mr. Sandman.
Chewy was wide awake, but as soon as Red Wings Rant came rolling,
Red Wings Rant, he's out. Blake says, "Acknowledge me. I will not acknowledge you." Ah, damn it! I just acknowledged you. All right, well, congratulations. Yep.
Acknowledge me.
Jared saying Rangers fumbled the ball on Trouba. Jared, I feel like that's the most complicated move because I think we all saw the smoke of the Red Wings picking him up like Friday and Saturday. And then we were like, oh, wait, he's got a full no trade clause. All right. He's decided, nope, I'm not budging. And then Sunday rolled into Monday. And then it was like, haha, now you only have 15 teams you can't get traded to. And then he's like, well, my wife wants to keep working here. So
my wife,
you guys, I'm staying home. So was it his doctor wife? Is that what she's doing, or real estate?
Doctor wife. She's in her residency.
Fans of this show know you got to answer to doctor wife. So,
Yep. No, I mean, I obviously I see where Trouba's coming from. that's a lot of work to put into it, and then to just say like, well, I'm the hockey player, so you just take the back seat. Sure. And that's nothing. Like, I've had those conversations in my household. It's not anything where you're just like, all right, pick up and go. Like, those are big conversations. When I've been looking around like places where I want to apply to, it's like, well, could you get a license in this state? Like, what's the turnaround time for that? And then we're talking about like, well, then in 6 months I could do this, and then in a year I could have this set up. And it's like, geez. So it really is not anything that's just pick up and go.
I don't know why feels like only hockey cares about this. Where it's like, I want to do what's best for my family. And it feels like the other sports, it's essentially mercenaries and hired guns. I don't know why it's only the NHL that is like, nope, I'm staying where my wife tells me to stay. Yeah. Dan B throwing in a very important comment to reel us back into hockey. Saying so much for our goalies, goals against average for next year. Bring on the 6-5 games, baby. Woo! Matt, we picked up Cam Talbot. We still got Corey the line back there.
Throws out there. Jack Campbell. Now.
And I feel like I'm missing. Who's number 4? Oh, then we got Ville Husso, allegedly still on the team.
Remember that guy?
On the hook for $4.7 million. Matt, are we stacking up on goalies, or is it that one of them's going to get bought out or traded?
I hope one of them is moving on. Jack Campbell in there, of course, with Edmonton. He was just a big old farty, stinky turd sandwich in Edmonton. I'm looking at the 873 save percentage he put up.
He got sent to the minors for a while, didn't he?
Yeah. And the only thing, so everybody said, don't forget he's being picked up to play in Grand Rapids. That's fine. I couldn't have been more frustrated that we hadn't seen like a huge move on day one of free agency. And then of all the signings, it was the guy who Edmonton could not get off their roster fast enough. It was Jack Campbell. Yeah. And then again, today we traded and picked up Gage Alexander. So we have 4 goalies now in the AHL. And then we've got Alex Lyon, like you mentioned, Cam Talbot, and Ville Husso.
Well, can we just want to throw a little positivity out there, because Vladimir Tarasenko, what did he have? Was it like 70-ish, 80-ish points? Was that 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
And 55 combined last year with Ottawa and the Stanley Cup winning Florida Panthers.
The reason I bring it up is, to be fair, Jack Campbell did have some pretty good seasons. I'm looking at like 2020, 2021, 2021, 2022. He had a decent, his goals against was like 215, 264, save percentage like 920, 914. So yeah, his last 2 seasons were hot garbage. But now he's playing behind Mo Seider and Simon Edvinsson. Potentially. Yeah. I'm just saying that, I feel like goalies are just turning into blackjack, and you just be like, oh, well, this one didn't work. All right, we got one more shot, and you just keep playing.
I do kind of agree with you. I think it was just the timing of the thing that really made me upset with Jack Campbell getting signed. But I do agree. It's not going to hurt at all to see if like he's going to get things figured out. And the hot finish he had in the AHL, again, I think like a 930 save percentage in the AHL. That's not going to hurt. That's going to be nice. But yeah, should we stop here? Like, today was the big Vlad Tarasenko. Of course, we moved Robby Fabbri to make that space. So again, a guy who we couldn't count on to be an everyday forward because he was getting injured so often. So like when you're talking about upgrades across the roster, I don't even know if we were going to be counting on Robby Fabbri to be the guy that we were upgrading. But certainly, if you're talking about losing David Perron, I come back to this conversation of upgrading your top 6. I'm going to talk about an upgrade in that spot. I think you've done it. I think you've upgraded from David Perron to Tarasenko. And again, we'd be hypocrites because of how hard we push that we want to see upgrades in the top 6. We'd be hypocrites if we said this wasn't a great move. and wasn't moving the needle in the right direction.
I feel like it's taken like 4 to 6 months longer than we all wanted, but Yzerman has like punted on Anthony Mantha. He did punt on Bertuzzi and say, "No, man, you're just hurt too much. I can't give you money." And then Fabbri was his boy. Like when he gave him that, was it the 5-year extension?
Yeah,
we were all kind of like falling out of our chairs, and we were like, "Dude,
4 or 5 years.
We have anything against him, but he's not on the ice." So yeah, it probably took a few more months than we would have wanted, but that's a big move. You want to help us afford Tarasenko and still have a little more wiggle room for some more magic. But we do have a few more comments in here. Man, they're coming in like hotcakes, Matt. We got Ketzel. It's not profound, but I just like hearing this. All right, nerds. Blake saying Hall and Husso are going to be traded. Got to get that second rounder. We also got Adam Serafino. Welcome. Hall and Husso still need to be moved. There will be a trade or two still to come. Maybe Mata as well.
Don't hate that at all.
Yeah, I would just the way the trade will have to be structured. If you're going to bring in somebody key, you're going to have to probably trade Husso for the money, and then first rounders, and then probably Berggren and another defenseman that you like.
Yeah,
so right. I mean, Matt and I have like pie in the sky dreams that we're clearing cap space for like a monster pickup. Somebody who's not, starting into their mid 30s, like our Kane and Tarasenko, like somebody who's, coming in to kick some ass. From Big Debo, the team got bent when Larkin went down. The lack of center depth is the issue. Is Casper the solution? And may God help us all.
I mean, it's hard to say anything there until we can actually see some of these guys in training camp. I mean, you saw, I would say a little more confidence showed in Nate Danielson, age-wise than we've seen in a lot of the draft picks that Steve's put out there. So you saw a guy that played well in the juniors, and you got rewarded with an opportunity to play in the playoffs in the AHL. I'd be curious to see where that goes. Nate seems to be tracking a little bit higher on the depth chart than Casper would be, where Casper all of a sudden has gone from draft day of a for sure top 6 center to now is sort of grading out. Would be really happy to be a middle 6, maybe a bottom 6 center. Still depth at center though. So there's no sneezing at that, but I do agree with you, Big Debo. I think if I was going to play the game later, if we got a chance to look at the depth chart and what it looks like right now, and everything seems to work out, and we're in a playoff battle come the trade deadline, and we don't make any other moves, where do you upgrade first? And I think there's definitely an argument on the defensive side to make an upgrade. But you could make the argument that things get improved if you can hold on to the puck a little bit longer in the offensive zone with another center. But anyway, we'll get into that later. But yeah, no, it's a great question. Good thing to remember. And are you really solving too many problems by having a second line now that could potentially have Tarasenko and Kane on it, who are not going to help a ton defensively. Yeah.
Not a lot of speed on that line. A lot of smarts, but not a lot of speed.
Yeah.
That did have a few other people just touching on. Silver saying we be stockpiling them goalies, eh? And then he all caps us with we need more goalies, please.
More. Just give us all the goalies. One of them's going to work out. That's exactly what you're saying, right, Mike? Like, we don't know how goaltending is voodoo, so just bring them all here.
Ketzel, after his nerds comment, throwing in there compilation of goalies and defensemen to package a trade. Yeah.
I think that would be ideal, but I don't know how many pieces we have that other teams will actually want, because we're going to want to keep the good ones and we're going to want to move out the bad ones. The only problem is, like, I would have made the argument that, one of the guys we traded away, you wouldn't have needed to attach a second round pick to move him. So I still feel like there has to be something there we're missing. But the desperation to move him just is kind of where that's always going to stick in my craw. But that being said, like, imagine what you'd have to give away. Like, we saw even Fabbri had to be moved with a 4th round pick. And Jared mentioned too, like, it's more accurate to describe Gage as ECHL, and a not very good one is where Jared's coming from. So you're not really getting anything back there. And you like to sort of continue this thought here. Now you're talking about if Fabbri's a 4th, Walman's a 2nd. I don't know if you're how much you need to package to move these guys, especially like, if you got in the conversation of like salary retention, that's the exact opposite thing of what you want to do. But do you need to kind of do that to move, put more value on Ville Husso, and then please, can you take this contract as well, is kind of how you're positioning that. But it's just, gosh, it's such a mess. And you do have to, as Vlad Tarasenko signs his deal, and Steve so lovingly moves Robby Fabbri off the roster, when he gets out of his hot dog car and he's looking around to figure out who crashed through the front door window while he's wearing a hot dog suit, you got to kind of remember, like, man, there's some problems popping up here and some holes that are getting filled, and there's some upgrades happening, but god damn, at what cost? But yeah, that's going to be another loss to hopefully see some sort of upgrade here. But hey, I didn't think we were going to be talking about Tarasenko today, so more good to come.
Wait, what loss are you talking about?
Mark. Loss of draft picks, loss of talent.
I mean, those weren't real draft picks. We didn't trade real draft picks. Come on. It's a 2nd and a 4th. That's not. That doesn't pan out.
Then get rid of all these.
Yeah. Shit. It worked for the LA Rams. They won a Super Bowl. I'll trade draft picks for championships every offseason. Give me that. I want that. Give me that. Also, if you're very confused by Matt's hot dog reference, you should watch I Think You Should Leave on Netflix. Come on, guys. But we do have a few more comments in here. Anders Auto and Truck. Wow, we'll give you a free plug and read your comment. How about that, Anders? Jesus, Griffins are getting some goalies. Chill. Also probably going to off Husso. Please. Yeah, this is, I think it just looks like a lot of overstock just because they haven't made the next move yet. So, I don't know, man. I don't know if you're going to have to say goodbye to, like Husso and like Edvinsson and draft picks for somebody really kick-ass. Just to make the money work, appease the other team to actually want to make the trade, and then picks to kind of fluff them.
Oh.
And can I mention Adam Serafino saying, I hope I'm saying that right, Adam. Yeah. Campbell at that price tag was a good pickup. He's making like league minimum. I agree. I'm not going to kill the Wings for that pickup. Like I said, he, was good a couple years ago, and goalies, they have a year they suck. Then the next year they, win the Stanley Cup. So I kind of like the move. Ken Young, welcome aboard. Will the Doc make the 16 mil in the next 2 years that Trouba will? This is job, not his hobby. Mama needs a nanny. Matt, your thoughts?
I don't know. He's still going to play hockey, and she gets to do what she wants to do. I don't know. There's a human being there. I don't see what the big problem is. But I would call out too. Like I'd be curious to find out what is waiting in the wings with Husso, because I just want to remind everybody too. Like if this was a part of the Trouba trade, like it almost couldn't have been, right? Like Shesterkin's going to be in conversations for new deals kind of thing. And not that that's really going to affect anything, but also they have Jonathan Quick as their backup who did pretty good last season. So I don't know if you're going to like have a, kind of like we just talked about with Campbell, is like, here's some insurance in case anything happens with your top 2 goaltenders. I don't think you're bringing in Husso's insurance. So it's not like Igor comes in like incredibly cheap at the 5-6. So I guess I bring that up, and I brought up the Rangers depth chart here just because I was kind of thinking like I don't think he'd be a part of that trade. So maybe there's something else cooking. And I'm still intrigued too. And this is kind of the WWE fan in me. I'm still intrigued too by what Patrick Kane tweeted out when he when he signed his contract. He's like, there's exciting things to come this year or something. Like I don't know.
Ooh, look at you, man. Little Mark over there. Yeah.
Too much. Yeah, too much.
Just keep seeing those pro wrestling out there. I got a few comments here from somebody doing a little swerve from the direction of the show. Cider, Dixon. You're not going to catch me again saying that. You already caught me really red-handed. Saying another season in the mushy middle. Thoughts on tanking for McKenna? And then Dixon, this one, just expand on it a little bit. Steve literally playing Pokemon at this point. Dixon, as far as the mushy middle, I think what the Wings are thinking right now is, man, if we have Kane for a whole season, maybe we stock up on more points to start the year. If we don't have, what was it, almost 8 total weeks of Larkin on the injured list, we probably get at least another point or two to squeak into the playoffs. So if we kind of round out the peripheral guys a little bit, maybe there's a shot. So, yeah, I don't think that this is like a top 4 team that's like a immediate cup contender, at least until this next bit of wizardry occurs by Yzerman. But, Matt, are you in agreement about us being in the mushy middle?
Well, we're not better than the Panthers. We're not better than the Bruins. We're not better than
Tampa?
Leafs.
I think we
Tampa
could come
did.
Tampa.
Yeah, Tampa did subtract a lot to add one. Like the Sergachev and losing Stamkos to bring in Gensel, who is maybe marginally better just because of his age, better than Stamkos.
I would rather have Stamkos today.
Yeah, I'm on board for that argument. I do think that was an overplay on Tampa's part. A little too much work to bring in one guy. But they still have room to make moves as well. I don't want to rule anything like that out, but I mean, you got like the conversation we're having right now too is like all those teams we just mentioned, who has the most flexibility right now to upgrade their team. The winged wheel. Wings are the only team who can really make that huge move here. Now, does Florida need to make a huge move? No. They could kick the ever-loving shit out of us right now. And they just keep extending guys for cheap contracts. And God bless them. Like, use those no taxes in Florida as much as you can. It sucks for us. But, hey, we live in a, shitty state. What can we say? Me and Mike do. I don't know. There are obviously Red Wings fans out there. You guys are listening that don't live in this state. But, yeah, if you picked the Red Wings to be the team you're going to be a fan of, and you don't live here, you're fucked, man. But yeah, I get real quick just to throw that out there. I do think like our best case scenario is another wild card spot, or somebody really needs to fall off the face of the earth here.
Sure. And then I will say this will probably
goaltending gets fucked with Boston. But go ahead.
Or just a quick note, thoughts on tanking. I don't think they're going to tank. They're picking up Kane and Tarasenko. They're trying to get us in the playoffs and shut up people like Matt and I who are frustrated with this. We're getting closer to a decade rebuild. And then you still owe me an explanation for playing Pokemon at this point. I want to hear more about that. But we have some people who haven't commented in a while. We have Bill Malberg, who's really excited. He finally made it in the live chat. Bill, we're glad you're here too, bud. Seeing as how Chychrun was gotten for a 3rd rounder and a player, would you have rather gotten him for Walman than nothing?
It is tough doing that trading in the division and like what that's going to mean, especially with a guy like Chychrun who just keeps saying like, I don't want to play here anymore. Which really is just starting to,
And I feel like we might have soured Ottawa on making moves with us. They're like, no, we're done. We're not trading with you anymore, Steve. Fuck off.
But yeah, I do like if it was me playing the video game, Bill, I'll put it this way. I do that all day long. I'd have no problem doing that trade. But in real life, I feel like that's the problem, and I don't want to mess with the what happens with Chychrun when he's sad a year from now when we didn't win the Stanley Cup, and then Jake Walman is in Ottawa living it up, and he decides, few times a year he's just gonna kick the shit out of us. So I'd be scared to live in that reality. So I do like where your head's at, Bill. You made me like pause for a minute because I'd be all about that in the video game, and I wouldn't hang up the phone either in real life, to be completely honest. But I'd be so scared of the results like moving forward.
Yeah, and I think Silver kind of hit it. Walman was a part of that Trouba attempt, so I think that those plates kind of juggled and they didn't quite fall where Steve thought they would. He didn't know that Trouba was going to get the whoosh instead of the Hawk Tua, So and then Brand New, man, thank you for laughing at that terrible joke. Brand New, good evening, sir.
That's interesting by Silver, like to think like that. Like, does that happen? Like, San Jose was supposed to eat like half of Trouba's contract, but because Trouba nixed the trade, it just doesn't happen. Like, well, no, Steve, you faxed in your paperwork. Walman's gone. That's your fault. You shouldn't have faxed in your trade. So you just lose Jake Walman, and then San Jose is just like, I don't know what Steve's talking about. He said something about Trouba. I don't know if he knew that he was on New York at the time or that his wife's a doctor, but we're going to take Jake Walman. We'll let him know. We will in the future, we will consider Detroit. I promise. And then Gary's just like, just checking, and he walks away like that. Like that is interesting though. Like I love like that. We kind of talked about that a week ago when we first heard about Jake Walman, and we were then you hear about Trouba and you're like, oh cool, you can have two teams kind of hold on to that contract and make him super cheap maybe.
That's where we thought that mysterious compensation to be paid out later from the Sharks. We thought, oh, are you going to help make Trouba more affordable? Is that what's going on? Yeah. But yeah, didn't fall through. We have so many comments. I'm just going to try and jump through a few of them. And Matt, we'll probably have you hit a few of these. Corey just saying, I'm interested to see what our lines look like now. Red Wings fan club. Hello there. Told you guys Kane was coming back. Oh man, you had more confidence than I did. I thought that he was kind of mad at, where the team went and that we, came up short.
That's an interesting conversation if you want to have it too. If you think how you think that happened, but we can jump in there in a second.
We have a new commenter here, Key Ozzy. Welcome aboard. Florida lost like 7 guys, and we got a little bit better. I don't think they're that much ahead of us. I want to say that, we look a little bit better, but man, it feels like Florida always has our number. I would start with other teams as far as us like making progress. Florida, I just feel like it's an ass whooping every time we play that team. I don't know what it is. We also had a comment about Jonathan Taves having a road dog Jesse James return out of retirement. I don't think that's happening. So we can complete our Michigan Blackhawks. I guess what is that called? Voltron. We'll have a Blackhawks Voltron is almost complete. And then what did I have for you, Matt? Ketzel, I agree, saying the big question mark is in net. Tarasenko is an upgrade on line 2 over Perron. And Gus as an upgrade over Wally. Yeah, I think Matt actually has some stats to maybe back that up too. But yeah, you had the Patrick Kane card pulled up.
Yeah, I feel like I missed everything. I was trying to look up Florida's depth chart just to, I don't know. This isn't a Florida Panthers podcast, but the important names for Florida are Carter Verhaeghe, Sasha Barkov, Sam Reinhart, Evan Rodriguez, Sam Bennett, and Matthew Tkachuk, along with Gustav Forsling. Ekblad might be out the door, and then Bobrovsky, and of course they have, a pretty good backup in Spencer Knight too. I will say, and let's not forget Lundell, who just signed a new contract, right? Like, he's on their third line. So I would definitely pick Florida over Detroit right now. Just throwing that one out there. Anyway, yeah, Patrick Kane. I wanted to talk about this from that perspective, just real quick. Just your thoughts. Do you think this was a Steve got Patrick on the story of what the plans were in the future? Because it's still just a 1-year deal. So we're just talking about like what's going to happen this year. Or was Patrick sort of getting the nothing much better is going to be coming in for you conversation? And he turned right back around and was like, please, Steve, I want some more.
The Rangers are a very serious team. Like, as far as winning a cup, I feel like they were our main competition. And we got to see Patrick Kane up close last year, and we know that defensively he's not quick enough anymore. He's 35. That's going to happen. But we also saw what happened when how like improved our scoring was, and we've just been dying for scoring for since Pavel left. It feels like. So I think what ended up happening is I think he took a 1 year again to just keep proving himself and maybe make even more next year. So I don't know if it was necessarily like part of the plan. I think the Red Wings just kind of outbid the Rangers, and I maybe there wasn't as much competition for him as we thought. And that's okay. I mean, we understand that he is valuable to us at this juncture. So
yeah,
it kind of felt like a win-win that we got to retain him, but we didn't have a long-term commitment. So
I wanted to say too, I think there is the element to joke, like he did have to, I think there's some element of truth of like the situation that fell in front of Kane where he was like, okay, no, I'll come back, guys. Because he would have just signed immediately if it was like immediate love.
I mean, this town like totally loved him too. I don't think New York loved him. We love this guy.
I wanted to call out too. I think the way that Kane had been deployed the last couple of years, along with the hip, it was like not working. And you could see, if you guys are listening to the podcast now, I highly recommend you head on over to YouTube and go to Red Wings Rant. You could see on Jay Fresh's WAR percentile rank. I'm going to give a huge nod to the surgery. I'm going to give a huge nod to Lalonde and his deployment of Patrick Kane to put him in position to be successful. Because that WAR percentile rank, you could see how that was not only declining, but from a combination of what you're taking to the ice and what you give up defensively, he was a liability for the Blackhawks, for the Rangers when he played for them for a month or two, month and a half. That deployment with Detroit, top 80% in the league last season. It's a good job by Lalonde. They used him right. Clearly he ended up being one of the best power play guys, percentage-wise, when the season was done. Finishing, of course, we knew he was in like the top, what was that? Like the top 1% or something. Goals as well. Like Patrick Kane was just fantastic for us. I am so glad he's happy. Don't mean to take a dump on it. I did want to come back and say, I think a huge part of this is that he's going to be on a team that knows how to use him. And with the point that he's at in his career, I think we saw right away, like a good relationship was established with Lalonde. And I think I remember like part of the conversation was Kane liked to hear what Lalonde's plan was for the year. And that was one of the reasons he picked Detroit last season. I think they proved they know what they're doing with Patrick Kane and how to make it work. When we get into the depth chart, I would challenge too whether it's actually our second line is going to be Tarasenko, Kane, and Comfort. But that's a conversation we get to have for the next couple of months. But I did want to call out Kiazi. Thank you guys. First time here. I do feel like the Red Wings are a baby Florida Panthers in the making, slowly, all caps. And it's the physicality why the games are more lopsided. Stevie has improved that. Yeah, and Key, to your point too, like that's the one thing like where I kind of turned my nose at the Jacob Trouba trade and like regards to being too excited about it. There is something pretty sweet about having a guy on your team, Mike, that no matter how many times he goes elbow right into somebody's skull, he just never gets suspended. So you get to add that level of fear to your defensive corps. I would have been 100% for that. He's definitely trying to add more physicality. And Key, I think you're right too. Like all the drafting, which we still haven't even brought up Brandegg-Nygard yet. And how about, goddamn, I don't know if we want to talk about this too, but the sphere. The NHL is the first team to figure out how to make like an actual like entertainment event for both the viewer on television and the viewer at the arena for a draft. There, like, that never happens where the NHL is the first team to like make a move on something. And it's like, wow, every sport should be doing their draft at the Sphere, and Vegas will own all drafts going forward because that was freaking amazing. Derek Hand thrown out there. I'm pumped to have Kane back.
For sure. I will say real quick, Jim Johnson saying we need a second pair right D. Petrie and Hall don't cut it.
Nope.
I actually think we're at the point where we need a third pairing. So are we going to say that, like, would you do Edmondson, Mo, and can we do Gustafson and Sherratt? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're just trying to figure out the third pairing, because then you could throw Petrie in there, you could throw in Mata. I don't think it's too wild. Mata and Petrie as your third pairing is, not winning any Norrises, but I think we got our 1, 2, 3, 4. That's just how the depth chart's looking. So right now under contract, you got Sherratt, Justin Hall, Mata, Petrie, Gustafson. Matt, help me out before I butcher myself with this pronunciation. Is it Blageson?
Oh gosh,
because they count him at the NHL level. They're not saying that he's like minor leagues. And then Mo, of course, and Edmondson, who per cap friendly, they're still counting him as a prospect. But my God, is he going to be important next year? Yeah, so I don't think it's quite as bleak, but I don't know if you think that, there could be a whole other discussion if we're going to do one more big beef trade, if it's going to be for a defenseman or a center, because that's kind of the point of contention. I can't remember who had the comment in here. Let me find it real quick. It was basically saying that, you build your team through the middle and we don't have a second line center. And I think it was a topic of discussion for almost every single episode last season. And especially the ones where Larkin, God forbid, had to miss one game. That we didn't have a center who could, step up and be a first liner for a game, let alone, really like establish themselves as the second line center. So I think our wing play was okay on the second lines, but
did Draisaitl, did he get his extension from Edmonton?
I don't believe so. Matt, don't you dare. Don't you dare put that smoke over here. Yeah, so he's still sitting on 8.5 just for this season. Then, Matt, he's not an RFA. He is a UFA. UFA. Don't you dare, man. Don't start that conversation. That'll be another
Marner,
4 hours.
Mikko Rantanen. Did he get his extension?
Big boys coming up.
Yeah. Some big centers, some big forwards coming up. Sidney Crosby, Mike? I'm just kidding.
Let's bring in all the guys.
Yeah, just everybody. Mike, we're gonna create an all-star team. We're gonna bring in Crosby, and we're gonna have a mid 2010s all-star team.
Dan B doing his best to get banned from the comments, saying first game versus the Rangers, Trouba, low bridges, Kane, and his hip is kaput. Dan B, that's a soft ban for you. Sorry, bud. And we have Wizard Fetus saying signing anywhere else required moving for Kane.
Is that a hip joke? Because I'm all about poor jokes.
That comment is really a tiramisu because it could be about him physically moving. It could be about him moving cities. Other teams having to move players to make it work. Wizard Fetus with a bid for comment of the show because that comment could have gone anywhere. And Matt, we have another new person here. We got Trevor. Matt's questions for you out of Casper, Danielson, and Laser Mazer himself. Who do you think is the best shot of earning a roster spot out of camp? I think if it's Danielson, this team's going to the playoffs.
I mean, looking at what we're looking at right now, I think you've got a couple of guys on this list that don't quite pan out as everyday players, and I think it's going to be Mazer the Laser that has that best opportunity to make it up. Now, if we're talking about Nate Danielson, there's some real talent there for him to win a spot. Like Steve mentioned, like nobody's going to be handed a spot, but if anybody's going to like step up and take it based on what we've seen the last year, I think it's Nate Danielson. There's a guy who sort of like brings a pretty solid game that you can measure out and find some success with it from the AHL and bring it up to the NHL. I think it's Laser Mazer for sure. But guys, problem solved. Jamie Benn. There we go. He's free agent. He'll be on the trade market maybe if Dallas sucks. I'm just kidding. Everybody hates Jamie Benn.
Real quick, while it's fresh on our minds, Wizard Fetus did explain he meant moving his family. He wants stability.
Oh, gotcha.
Well, it's still a bid for a comment of the show because it had so many different interpretations. Brand new with a second bid for a comment of the show saying good with the Fabbri trade and laughing about Ottawa Perron. Now, if we can ship Cop to Utah, he's going to win Nathan's hot dog contest tomorrow. Thank you, brand new.
I want to call this one out. Dixon just saying, tell me Veleno is better than Danielson so I can slap you into next week. I don't think Danielson is winning a spot over Veleno. I think Danielson's earning his way into the middle six. Like that's what Steve said.
Is the Veleno contract not signed though because Danielson is
not
looking that good?
No, I think Steve just is horrible at getting these restricted free agent contracts. I feel like, the more we experience Steve, the more I see a lot of myself in him. If I have a project due at work and I'm the only one who's checking on the initiatives, like I will wait forever on that. And to the point where Steve doesn't talk to anybody in the media about, trying to hint at like plans or get lower prices on anybody. Maybe Steve he takes the whole season off, We didn't get any trades at the trade deadline. I think he's just he works like 2-3 weeks out of the year. He gets that list of draft prospects from Draper and he's like, yeah, man, fuck it up. Let's go. And then he goes back on vacation, That's what I would do.
Derek Hand. Oh man, he is like me with the Trevor Zegras trade because he's just feeling it right now. He's like, it'd be sick if Danielson and ASP pull a Mo and Raven this year, forcing their way onto the roster. Then all of our problems are solved. Derek, woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Man, if that happens, I'm actually going to take those phone calls from the Red Wing marketing team when they ask me to buy playoff tickets because that'd be fucking sick, man. But if Danielson makes it, I will be pretty excited. That would be a big deal.
I would say that would be so much fun to like get. Yeah.
Oh, it was just a tag for Jared, just reminding us. Danielson seems to have the most level head. Dude didn't even smile when he got drafted. I will think about Matt and I attended the little Red Wing draft party downtown, and that was the funniest thing to see that guy's face. It's just, cue up the Curb Your Enthusiasm music. He did not look excited to be a Red Wing, but he's performing well. So yeah.
No, I do really love Derek's comment. That would make like the next step so interesting, is like taking a look at that and you're like, man, would they really do Edvinsson? Like, that's the one thing I think is going to hold up Axel, is going to be the fact that Edvinsson should be making this team. Swear to God, if he doesn't, I don't know what the fuck's going on, because that would have to be a major shift, right?
Like, what do you have to do?
Right. But like, right, like Edvinsson, as much as I would like to see Petrie move on, you can't do Edvinsson and Axel, right, on the same line.
Oh, man. If Axel makes it, Matt, I'm buying a home and an away jersey to that game, just so you know.
But where I'm going with this, though, is I if that happens, like, again, I don't think you're looking at a third pair if one of these guys is working their way onto the roster. Steve said it himself. So I think what makes that the most fun is that Ben Sherratt would probably be the line partner with Asp, which means you'd get Simon Edvinsson and Mo Seider on the top pair next year, which would be fucking amazing. Could you imagine? Imagine it right now.
I don't have the imagination. Do it. I don't have it. It's too amazing. I would just combust.
That's where that's the most exciting. Yeah.
Shout out to Brad, who has been mostly quiet the entire episode, but he did parachute in for a dick joke, saying that if those two players force their way in with no lube, he's here for it. And Dixon saying he'd go from 6 to midnight if Danielson and ASP make it. If ASP makes it, that's my new Soderblom. That's my guy. That's my guy.
I like this one from Jim. Going to Florida and bringing in Ekblad, like we talked about. That's a name that Florida is actively trying to ship. Guy can't really make it through the season, but he'd definitely be an upgrade over Jeff Petrie. And I think if you're trying to give Simon Edvinsson the guy to learn from, and you're talking about a guy like Ekblad, who's, I mean, from every facet of the game, when he's healthy, really makes a difference. I think
he has Yzerman pickup all over him too, because he's only got the 1 year, so he's on an expiring. He's only 3 years away from starting to be in his mid-30s, so Yzerman's like just drooling. Just think about Ekblad on that blue line.
Hey, good call out. Kubalik and Verana are still available. Thanks, guys. Like the
oh man, get the band back together. Let's go.
For sure. So one of the things we haven't talked about yet is all the cap space we have left, Mike, and that we've forced some moves here to like make some more space.
Did you time that on purpose? You pulled up the screenshot of these teams horrifically over the cap space while I was taking a sip of Code Red Mountain Dew. I picked red because it's Red Wing Red. I almost did a spit take all over my laptop, so that was good timing. Thank you.
Yeah, how about the one team that actually owns Cap Friendly and the boys who created it? 13 million over the cap. They are about to do some cap wizardry here, right? Like, there's some conversation where they were like, yeah, go for it. We'll figure this out for you. I can't wait. There aren't too many fun names though on Washington that I want to take over.
No, because the guy, I know we like mid-30s wingers. I mean, Oshie is the guy who's got 1 year left. He's 37. He's probably I know there's a nostalgia for him, but it kind of feels like the guy they're going to move because his number would work perfectly. I can't see them really re-signing him unless it's for a drastic, price reduction. So there you go.
Yeah, it is weird too. Like I would have targeted Matt Roy, Matt Wah, who was bought out, or I'm sorry, he just didn't get re-upped there with LA. that was a name where we called it out a week ago, and we were just it was like, yeah, that's a solid target. It fills a huge hole we had all season, but Washington brings him in at 5.75. So it's like, all right, you're bringing him in, and you've got Trevor Van Riemsdyk, Ethan Bear on the right side, and John Carlson, your alternate captain, all on the right side for defense. And also, let's not forget you traded for Jacob Chikrin, who can also play on the right side. And it's just like, this is just an absolute mess right now on Washington's depth chart here. It's funny too. I would have sniffed around, like we mentioned earlier, around Chikrin. I would have absolutely gone after Matt. But yeah, Washington's got them, but they have a huge cap problem. So I would keep an eye out for what's going on there. I just don't know if like even what you're talking about with TJ Oshie. Like I don't
really want that.
Like
it would have
right.
to be for like a 7th rounder, just I don't even know where I'd deploy him. Which might be the word of the episode.
You'd almost want to get paid like the Wings did. You'd have to receive a 2nd round pick to take on this TJ Oshie contract, but
because that's valuable money I could be using on my mega trade. So I don't know if I want to, waste it on Oshie. No offense. So actually, I have a friend who has an Australian Shepherd that she named Oshie just because they really liked him when he had a good run in the
Olympics.
What was that, 2021, 22? The Caps won it all. I can't remember.
Oh, that was 2018.
Was it that long ago? Jesus.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID. So yeah, I like where your head's at. Just to kind of maybe.
2019. Anyway, go ahead.
I think these numbers are just a little bit sexier. If and I know we talked about it in our Discord, and you guys should definitely join the Red Wings Rant Discord. We get to talk about this stuff as it happens. All the moves. The A+ offseason. I know that there's still one super sweet mega trade that we, just haven't quite put the abacus together to figure out the math on it. But does it involve more of a subtraction than an addition? And I'm looking at you, Justin Hall. I'm looking at you, Philly Husso. Because I know people have talked about let's trade those guys, but I feel like you got to have a little value to get traded. And I don't know if Steve wants to attach a 1st round pick to get rid of Hall and who, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, Husso's gone next year, right? Like Walman had a few-year deal that he wanted to get off the books.
Yeah. Hall's got I think 2 or 3 years left.
Yeah, that's the bummer. He's got 2 years
Hall has
left.
This season and next season, then he's off the books.
Yeah, that's a stinker because you've got to oh, man, that's one I like you can't forgive. And there's reasons like for me looking at this team, like there's reasons that if you combine the last 2 seasons, you can't really give Steve an A+. And I think there's very little that seems possible he can do to get an A+ in the offseason. I think before today, you were right to assign a failing grade to Steve. Before today, before Tarasenko, I think he did enough at a very reasonable price at a very short term for the right type of talent to get back into.
Let's throw the Fabbri trade in there too, because I think that also bumped him up like a half-letter grade. Because we wanted to feel like there was some actual like salary cap management and that there was a plan, and not just retaining Kane, getting Gustafsson, some goalies that don't get a lot of love. For the most part, deservedly so. And yeah, let's turn into the guys that Ottawa snagged from us, as Key Ozzy wants to remind us. Funny how things go. Wings got DeBrincat last year, and mask their pain. They got Tarasenko. Now I have both of them on the Red Wings. Sens fans have to be annoyed with us. But I don't know where we want to go with that, man. But
look, I brought up some players that we would be the fantasy pick, but we could save that for another day.
It was just about the if the this feels like a successful offseason right now. If there is if we've Royal Rumble overbooked this and there is no massive trade, I would consider this offseason an A+ if Hall is gone. As is. You've cleared up the books to at least get yourself in the negotiating room with Draisaitl. And you got a team that I feel like you can compete, barring, injury luck. So feels pretty good. Do you consider this, because of today, is this offseason a success right now? Or is it a success for you only if they have a big subtraction, Hall, or if they have a big addition, mystery player?
I feel like success and failure is too big of a spectrum, but I do feel like failing and getting into passing, which is ABC range, like Steve did that today. He's back. Like for me, like what reason do I need to give him more than a B-? We haven't severely upgraded this team at all aspects. I still think we have more things to sort out at this point. So if it's getting rid of Hall, that still keeps this roster at the same exact spot it's at right now, because Hall was just a healthy scratch last year. So it's a bad contract to have on the books, but I don't know. We already talked about like where they fall in the standings. So
having him on the roster severely dampens your ability to be that team at the trade deadline that says, we'll give up a non-first rounder for a guy that we're renting for 3 months or 2 months. So I think I
don't disagree.
It kind of sets you up a little bit easier for this trade deadline and then next year.
I will say Elliot Friedman's the one. Edmonton made so much money, I guess, in the Stanley Cup Finals that some NHL execs have thrown out the number 100 million, which is really, there's no reason then at that point Draisaitl leaves Edmonton unless he just hates it there. But even if that's not the case, I mean, the Wings are still estimated right now to have 43 million in cap space next season. So that doesn't include around the 13-15 mil of Seider and Raymond, but that's quite a bit of quiche right there, because Husso would be coming off the books anyway. You're gonna have Lagesson, however you say his name. Petrie's coming off. Olimata's coming off. You have some ability there to swing in some of the new guys, some of the lower contracts to fill out like your bottom pairs kind of thing. And then, I guess that's pretty much it.
Well,
so then, you still run into that problem of Justin Hall.
Speaking of a big quiche, Jim Johnson reminding us we are 10 subscribers from 1,000. Woo! So any of you newbies, please like and subscribe. It means a tremendous deal to the Red Wing Rant boys over here. You want to see us excited about a 32-year-old right winger who can't play defense? Just wait till you see us get 1,000 subscribers. Let's go!
Yeah, we could quit our jobs and start making money on YouTube.
Let's go. We did have a few people weighing in. Ketzel, of course, saying with Kane, Tarasenko, and Gustafsson, I see it as a success. Ketzel, I do too. I agree. Dixon, Seider says B+. Free agent season, by not signing one of those ridiculous contracts. It's true. We signed 0 mortgages yet. Mo and Lucas will be mortgages, hopefully. I heard some smoke about bridge contracts. I'm like, are you kidding me? The hell do you want from these guys? They're like your best players. You ink them up for life, man. And then, Hyprex, who we have not heard from. Welcome, Hyprex. Package Hall with a prospect we don't need. Signed Raymond and Seider. I think they probably wouldn't do a prospect because they love the names, but it probably would be maybe a draft pick. Maybe. And Red Wings fan club, we lost a little bit of offense, but if this damn team can be average defensively, they might be okay. I know Perron didn't put up no goals, but I feel like we valued him a little bit more just being, used for traffic on the power play, as a little bit more grit on offense. So kind of essentially trading him with Ottawa for Tarasenko, I feel like you actually might have gained some offense.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that we lost someone. Ghost walked away. But presumably that means that Edmondson's going to get more time in that spot, which in the long run is probably what we want anyway. So maybe it won't be as bleak as we think. I can't remember if I had one more for you, Matt. Oh, Derek saying, I consider it a success not signing Stephen Weiss for one. We kind of already have one of those, police officer cop on the third line. So luckily we're not going to add another one of those. And then Hyprick's just thrown in again because we haven't heard a lot from him. Just throwing in the Marco Kasper question, if he makes the team. Potentially. I don't think that he's as much of a sure thing as a few other dudes. And I think if you're coming in late, we kind of think that it might actually be Danielson leapfrogging him because I think, was it Derek who was talking about him being a 200-foot player? And the Red Wings are going to be maybe sorely lacking in those with our signing of Kane and Tarasenko. So, that might be a necessity, an absolute necessity when opening night hits.
And a 200-foot player, and not forgetting about that 100 feet that goes towards the puck you're shooting at, or towards the net you're shooting at. Like
Sure.
A lot of times people say a 200-foot player, and it's because they're just really lacking some
because they don't know how to score.
Abilities. Yeah, for sure.
It's a polite way to say you don't know how to do 100 of the feet. Yeah. I like
Dixon throwing out there to everybody in the chat, and of course us. Y'all think we get Mo Edmondson first pair by the end of the season? I absolutely think we do, and I think that might be due to some injuries at some point. But I think they're going to see something that looks fun, and it's going to work. I think there's a world where the way you want this to be built, right? Like you have two cornerstones. I don't know why I said that weird. On your D, I think it'd be nice to split them up, but this might turn into one of those things where it's just like, no, just put your two best guys together. It's your first pair and go for it. The more we see Edmondson, I've talked about this with a few people, the more I feel like he's going to be our Norris chasing defenseman. I think Seider's going to be amazing for us. Can't wait to see that 8-year deal pop up. The more we see Edmondson, I love Seider. I do kind of feel like Edmondson's going to be our boy chasing the Norris every year.
You know what? You can keep both of them because it's going to be the Axeman.
That's true. Yeah, that's another. Yeah, it's just putting up those points. I think you're right. Like Mo will end up being our third most exciting defenseman in a couple of years.
We are at an hour 7. Dan B at the buzzer saying, "Love, love, love my 200-foot players." I roll. Thank you, Dan B. Appreciate it. Also, some new subscribers. Thank you, Kiazi. We really appreciate it. I think we're at least better than Pat Caputo, right? That's at least the bar. Pat Caputo, what did you?
Did we have our head screwed on tighter than Mike Valeni popped up in my Instagram this week? Oh. Instagram was like, "You like the Red Wings, don't you? Here's Mike Valeni's take," which is getting really close to fire Steve Yzerman. But
those are.
I went deep down the rabbit hole.
I was surprised to hear any hockey talk. So
on
the local radio.
I have a new. I think this is because of the things that you and myself and our buddy we send to each other on Instagram. I now get like the cringe actors who do like anime characters. Like "Hey, my lady.
Oh, yeah.
You to Taco Bell so that we can get to Baja Blast." Like, I now have in my feed those real accounts, and they have like 12 likes, and it's just some dude eating French fries and talking about how great they are. And I've been sending them to you, Mike. They're I started today, but it's just wild that now that's mostly my feed. It's Mike Valeni, and then these cringy anime kids. It's fun.
Yeah, But real quick, Jared, let's get off that topic real quick because my phone is on and I don't want my phone to get any ideas. Jared with a late bid for comment of the episode because some insight saying 1+ for Steve, no trade clauses for this free agent signing.
Oh, really?
Love it.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, I kind of want to double fact check that for us here. But, I feel like there might be one for Kane, but he's not going anywhere anyway. There might be one for Kaner, but I think for the most part, everybody else, including Gustafsson, is like, yeah, whatever. So
contract details displayed have not yet been confirmed and are subject to change for Patty Kane, but it does say no trade clause. But it also has his bonuses in there, so I don't know.
Jared,
but that's not a UFA, so that right?
He's backpedaling to rescue this one, not counting Kane as he didn't go on the market.
Oh yeah, see, Jared, I was right there with Jared. Wait a minute, hang on, gentlemen.
If I may. Yeah. But yeah, we'll I know we still got a press conference coming. And then if a massive trade happens, even with the holiday tomorrow, we might have to do a bonus episode. If this massive trade with the smoke that we're seeing, if it comes to fruition, there will be a bonus episode. So keep your eyes peeled for that for sure.
For sure. Hopefully nothing on 4th of July. I'll be queuing some burgers.
You're going to be burning some burgers if the Burger Man gets traded to Toronto for a certain someone. Woo-hoo-hoo!
Fingers crossed. Good old Mitch Marner centering Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko. Man. Here we go. Let's fucking go, boys. I'm just kidding. Oh. All right, guys. We got to go. It's late. It's bedtime. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys. This is fun. It's nice to get some positive news from the Wingdings.
We got one last new comment. They parachuted in again with 1 second to go. Kyle, is it Zwed? Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm throwing your comment in there, Kyle. But Petrie saying Petrie is a UFA in 2025. We're not paying him. Most likely retire because nobody want to or pay for him. I disagree. Eiserman will ink him up 3 more years, $3 million. Give me that 3 AAV for 3 on the Petrie. Woo!
Yeah. We need that leadership in the room.
All right, but like and subscribe, and then keep your eyes out. If a wild trade happens, Matt and I will try to do an emergency pod.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.
Let's go!